was the god of good, and Angra Mainyu was the god of evil. Right? Although in their system, the god of good is going to win out in the end, and he is symbolized by the fire, the eternal fire, and the god of evil is darkness. So the light will win over the darkness. So the god of good is the ultimate god. But still, they did not want to attribute evil to God, so they had to really, in what they're doing, is they've elevated Satan to the level of a God who is able to create evil without Allah's permission. And this is error. This is error. How do we understand this then? Where did the evil come from? We say, yes, the evil came from Allah, but the reality is that Allah did not create anything which is purely evil. That whatever we perceive as evil in Allah's creation, there is a good side to it that we are able to see eventually, or we may never see until after Yawm al-Qiyamah. We don't necessarily have to see the good side to recognize that there is a good side. And that when Allah created things in which there is evil, He didn't create them for the evil, but for the good which would come from the evil. These are two important concepts for us to grasp in terms of the creation of evil. And Allah, when you look in the Quran or in the Sunnah, you will not find that Allah attributes evil directly to Himself. When He speaks about the creation of evil, He will talk about the evil of His creation. As in Surah Al-Falaq, where He says, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ. Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of the dawn from the evil that He has, مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ, from the evil from what He has created. From the evil of what He has created. He didn't say from His evil, but from the evil of what He has created. And this is the correct, we could say, etiquette in dealing with Allah with relationship to evil. We don't focus that Allah created the evil in your life is from God. And no. Yes, it is a part of Allah's creation, but there is a good element to it. We focus on the good as opposed to the evil element. This is the correct way of looking at it. And I should just mention that in the course of my presentation, I will mention certain verses from the Quran, etc., that I know in some circles, it is common to say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, before quoting. But actually, this is not from the Sunnah. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, you will find many hadiths in which he talks about something, he brings a verse from the Quran, he doesn't say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, he doesn't say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, because that is only when you are reading Quran. When you sit down to read the Quran, you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. And if you are beginning at a surah, which begins with Bismillah, then you can say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. But it is not a requirement in the course of a conversation or a presentation, etc. You're mentioning a piece of a verse or a verse that you must go through that. Right? So just to clarify, in case some of you might be wondering, well, why isn't he saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem? Okay? So, what we're talking about here then is that Allah, in creating certain things in this world in which there is evil, we can see evil in it, the intent behind that creation is not for that evil, but from the good which would come from the evil. And we, in our personal lives, function using the same principle, in that one will go to a doctor because you're going to travel someplace and they tell you this is an area where there are certain diseases, so you should get, vaccination, and you allow that doctor to stick a needle in your arm. Right? We could say, if we looked at the sticking of a needle in your arm by itself, we say this is evil. If somebody came up to you and said, listen, can I stick this needle in your arm? You say, no, no, thank you. Right? I'm not a masochist. I don't love pain, so I'm not going to, encourage people to go sticking needles in me, right? But if in sticking that needle, whether it's through acupuncture or it's through vaccination, there is good which comes out of it, then I will subject myself. So you'll see people, doing acupuncture. You see they have needles all over their heads and their backs and their arms, and and you look at this, you say, wow, something normally you would not welcome this. But because of the fact that it has been shown to produce, relief from certain pains and things like this, people subject themselves to it. So they're doing this for the good which comes from it, not from the evil which is directly involved in that, attaining that good. Similarly, people question, if Allah knew before He created Adam and Iblis that Iblis would refuse to bow to Adam, that Adam would eat from the tree because of Iblis's trickery, so why did He create Iblis? He could have created Adam, left Iblis out of the picture, and we just have things are in order, no problems, no. So why? The point is that when Allah created Iblis, the evil which came from Iblis, it produced a great good. If we look at Iblis and Adam, both of them disobeyed Allah. Adam disobeyed Allah and ate from the tree. Iblis disobeyed Allah and didn't bow in honor before Adam. Some people mistakenly understood or understand that Iblis's refusal to bow is what made him a kafir. But this is not true. This is not true. Because if in Iblis's act of disobedience is kufr, what do we say of Adam? Did he not disobey also? So you'd have to say Adam became a kafir also. No. Disobedience in and of itself does not cause a person to become a disbeliever. The Khawarij, the group which broke away from the early body of Islam, that was the position they took. If you made any act of disobedience, you became a disbeliever. Finish. This is a deviation. This is an aberration. This is not the correct Islamic understanding. Sin does not make a person a disbeliever. The point is that when Adam disobeyed Allah, and Allah had taught him words of repentance, he turned back to Allah in repentance. In the case of Iblis, when he disobeyed Allah, and Allah called him upon it, what did he do? Did he turn to Allah in repentance? No. He said, I am better than him. I'm better than Adam. You made me from fire and you made him from clay. This is where the disbelief came. Because what in fact he was saying was that it was not befitting for me to bow before Adam because I am superior to him. And the fact that you are telling me to bow before him indicates that you are wrong. Because he's saying, Allah, God, you are wrong in telling me to bow before this who that is inferior to me. It should be bowing before me. This is where now the disbelief comes into play. He's attributing to Allah error. This is a statement of disbelief. Anybody who says Allah made a mistake here, that's a statement of disbelief. This is where the disbelief came. So the point is though, Adam disobeyed Allah, Iblis disobeyed Allah, fell into disbelief. He came and he tricked Adam into disobeying Allah. And when he did so, Adam turned back to Allah in repentance. The turning back to Allah in repentance is one of the greatest acts of worship, isn't it? Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said what? Kullu bani Adam khata'. All of Adam's descendants constantly commit errors. وَخَيْرُ الْخَطَّائِينَ التَّوَّابُونَ. And the best of those who constantly err are those who constantly turn back to Allah in repentance. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was also quoted in Sahih Muslim as saying, if you didn't commit sins and turn back to Allah in repentance, Allah would have removed you from the face of the earth, brought another people who would commit sins and turn back to Allah in repentance, and He would forgive them. So the act of turning to Allah in repentance, this is a great act of worship. So much so that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, At-ta'ibu min al-dhambi kaman la dhamba lah. One who repents from sin is like one without sin. This is how great. Furthermore, when Adam turned to Allah in repentance, then Allah forgave